Woodblock printmaker David Bull here with the next update in our series of videos covering the construction of our new reproduction of the Hokusai Great Wave. As you can see, I'm not at one of my workbenches tonight. This is the small counter in our Asakusa shop. I thought I would change the location because this video isn't actually going to be a progress report on the printmaking. In fact, it's a bit of a derail from that series. I mentioned in the previous video how the tracing work had led me to discover a number of things that gave me an insight into the production of the old Metropolitan print. A little nick on a line here, an irregularity on a line there. Well, it seems that the longer I look at this image, the more of that sort of things I come across. And at the instigation of some of my staff members here, I thought I would put some more of these points into a separate video in case anybody might be interested. In the notes that accompany this video on the YouTube website, I'll include a series of links to images showing the places on the print that I will be talking about, so you can pause this as we go through and get a closer look that way anytime you wish. Let's begin down at the bottom left-hand corner of the print. This is the Metropolitan copy we're inspecting, the one that I'm tracing. We see waves and foam, perhaps nothing out of the ordinary. But if I show another copy of the print, you can see that something is clearly different and clearly wrong. What you are looking at over in the bottom left-hand corner is a place where the print has been repaired, and clumsily at that. The long, narrow vertical shape is almost certainly a place where the print was eaten away by bookworms, leaving an area of missing paper. Somewhere along the line, somebody repaired this print, probably by gluing a patch to the back of the sheet in these places and then touching it up with watercolor paints. Invisible mending this is not. I'll give them an E for effort and an F for the execution. Next, if you think that was bad, wait till you see this one. I'll switch back and forth between a couple of spots here, the boat on the left and the ones on the right. Do you notice something different about them? Look at this place where the coloring is modeled. Look at this spot where the color comes up into one of the faces. And here, where it wavers over the lines. This is not printed color, this is hand painting. Somebody has taken a brush and watercolors and touched up the two boats on the right-hand side of this print. Why? I have no idea. The fact that it's been done so clumsily makes me doubt that there were any ulterior motives in play here. I don't think they were trying to hide this. For some reason, at some point, one of the owners of this print decided these boats should be a richer color. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. Let's come up here to this area next. We actually looked at this place in the previous video. It's where there was a small nick in one of the carved lines. But this time, let's look at this very small blue dot and the smear beside it. This sort of thing happens to us printers all the time. We try and keep our work area clean, but with pigments and brushes stacked up all over the place, it's sometimes inevitable that we get little bits of contamination now and then. What usually happens, and what all my staff members was the case when I showed them this example, is that when printing a blue color, for example, you might get a stray dot of blue pigment up on the paper, which you then try and wipe off. Sometimes the wiping is successful, it comes off cleanly, sometimes it's not, and you end up with a streak. That's what we thought was the case here, but it's not. Look really closely and you'll see a small gap in the streak, right where the wave curls over. This wasn't a blue dot that fell onto the paper while printing one of the blue tones. This was a blue dot that fell onto the wood block for printing the sky. The printer then wiped the block carelessly, leaving a streak with a gap in the place where the wave pattern was carved out, and then took the impression anyway. Why was blue pigment in play while printing the sky block? Again, no idea. So there you have a few little points of interest that I've come across during my process of tracing this print. They're a bit esoteric, but I thought they were interesting. Anyway, I'm not yet finished too, so perhaps I'll find a few more before I'm done with this. There's another topic though that I would like to address today, something I touched on back in the first video in this series. I showed a quick back and forth comparison then between two prints. One was a pre-war reproduction, the other was a version on the market here in Tokyo today. I've had feedback from people that I didn't actually show the differences very clearly, so let me try today to clarify things a bit. I've now got printouts of three versions. The Metropolitan one I'm tracing, that pre-war reproduction from the Takamizawa company, and the modern version that's on the market today here in Tokyo. I've selected two places on the image where we can clearly see differences between these three. And again, I'll post these on the website with links included in the YouTube description section. We'll start with the Metropolitan copy. The main point to emphasize here is the fact that these are brush strokes. Of course, this is a print and these have been carved, but you wouldn't know it by looking at this. Each and every stroke, no matter how small, has beautiful taste and finish to each line. Let's compare the pre-war reproduction. They clearly made no attempt to be exact. There's a bit of brushstroke flavor, but in general, everything has been rounded out and smoothed off. And here's the modern reproduction. The brushwork has now disappeared completely. It's just hacked out chunks of wood. They're not even attempting to match the original line for line. This is nothing short of embarrassing. All right, let's do it again. Different place, same 3 prints. Again, let's start with the Met copy. It's the same point to notice really. This is true brushwork. But there's something else about this that only becomes apparent if we lose it. Let me explain. Look at the pre-war reproduction. They've smoothed everything out. It's beautiful, in quotation marks, but we have totally lost all the brush energy. Hokusai is gone. Back in the Met copy, look, the strokes cascade down the sheet, the brush pulling and pushing as it goes. There is Hokusai, caught properly by the carver. Do we need to show the modern version? Well, anyway, here it is. This one has sort of copied the strokes, 1 for 1, closer than the pre-war copy. But look at it, it's just absolute hack work. So all these little clips should, I think, give you a pretty good idea of where our own reproduction is hopefully going to fall. I am determined to get the tracing on the block to match as closely as possible the lines of that early Met copy. Then just how well I'll be able to carve it, well, that'll be the next challenge. Anyway, that should be enough for now. Please don't think that I've spent all my time this last week fooling around with these comparisons. I've actually been spending a lot of time on the tracing work, and that is coming along very well. Perhaps by the time of the next report in this series, that part will be finished. We'll see. Let's close this video with what is clearly going to become a habit and head outside for a minute or two. I've set up the camera here on the back street right behind our building. This is the giant game center Taito station. It's attached to what they call a batting dome. Their symbol being, of course, this big glove and ball. All day long you can hear the sounds of the crack of the bat coming through there. And panning back down, this is our block there. That's an overpriced restaurant right behind us. And panning around, we can see just down the street here, if I can zoom in with my clunky zoom, this is the Adores Game Center. This is 2 floors going down the basement, another giant game center. Talk about distraction. I mean, if I had any time for this at all, I'd be out here. Further down the street from there, you see, this is the Rock Broadway you can see in the distance there. And that's not the 3rd game center, it's a giant pachinko parlor, 1st and 2nd floor. Just past there is the wonderful the Don Quixote building, but I think that's a big event in itself. We'll save that for another evening.